One prophet stood against 850 false prophets, drenched his sacrifice in water, and fire fell from heaven that consumed everything. Let me tell you about the greatest showdown in biblical history. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to tell you about one of the most dramatic confrontations in the entire Bible. It's the story of Elijah on Mount Carmel, where one man of God challenged 850 false prophets to prove whose God was real. This wasn't a theological debate. This was a public demonstration of power. Fire from heaven, a nation watching, and a prophet who was willing to stake everything on God showing up. Let me take you through what happened and why it still matters today. To understand this story, we need to know the situation in Israel. King Ahab was ruling, and he was one of the worst kings Israel ever had. He married a woman named Jezebel, a foreign princess who worshipped Baal. Jezebel brought Baal worship into Israel and killed God's prophets. She promoted 450 prophets of Baal and 400 prophets of Asherah. The entire nation had turned away from God to worship idols. Into this spiritual darkness came a prophet named Elijah. God sent him to King Ahab with a message: there will be no rain in Israel for the next few years except at my word. This was both a judgment and a challenge. Baal was supposed to be the god of storms and fertility. If Baal was real, he should be able to make it rain. But for 3.5 years, the sky stayed clear. No rain, no dew. Crops failed. Water sources dried up. Famine spread across the land. During this time, God miraculously provided for Elijah, but the nation suffered. After 3.5 years, God told Elijah it was time to confront Ahab again. Time to show the people who the real God was. Elijah met with Ahab and said, "Summon the people from all over Israel to meet me on Mount Carmel, and bring the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who eat at Jezebel's table." This was going to be a public showdown. Ahab agreed and sent word throughout Israel. The people gathered on Mount Carmel. The prophets of Baal and Asherah came, and Elijah stood alone, one prophet of God against 850 false prophets. Elijah addressed the crowd and said, "How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him." The people said nothing. They had been playing both sides, trying to worship God and Baal at the same time. Elijah was forcing them to choose. Then Elijah proposed a test. He said, "I am the only one of the Lord's prophets left, but Baal has 450 prophets. Get 2 bulls for us. Let Baal's prophets choose one for themselves, and let them cut it into pieces and put it on the wood, but not set fire to it. I will prepare the other bull and put it on the wood, but not set fire to it. Then you call on the name of your God, and I will call on the name of the Lord, the God who answers by fire. He's God." Everyone agreed this was a fair test. The prophets of Baal went first. They prepared their bull and placed it on the altar. Then from morning until noon, they called on Baal. They shouted, danced, and worked themselves into a frenzy. "O Baal, answer us," they cried. But there was no response. No one answered. At noon, Elijah started mocking them. He said, "Shout louder. Surely he is a god. Perhaps he is deep in thought, or busy, or traveling. Maybe he is sleeping and must be awakened." This was cutting sarcasm. Elijah was saying, maybe your God is on the toilet, or taking a nap, or on vacation. The prophets of Baal shouted louder. They slashed themselves with swords and spears, as was their custom, until their blood flowed. This went on until evening. Midday passed, and they continued their frantic prophesying. But there was no response, no voice, no fire, nothing. After hours of this, it was clear Baal wasn't going to show up. Then Elijah said to all the people, "Come here to me." They gathered around as Elijah repaired the altar of the Lord that had been torn down. He took 12 stones, one for each tribe of Israel. With the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord. He dug a trench around it large enough to hold about 3 gallons of water. He arranged the wood, cut the bull into pieces, and laid it on the wood. Then Elijah did something that seemed crazy. He said, "Fill 4 large jars with water and pour it on the offering and on the wood." They did it. "Do it again," he said. They did. "Do it a 3rd time." They poured water until it ran down around the altar and filled the trench. Everything was soaking wet. The wood, the sacrifice, the stones, the ground around it. Why would Elijah do this? Because he wanted to make it absolutely clear that what was about to happen was a miracle. There would be no natural explanation, no hidden fire, no tricks. When God showed up, everyone would know it was God. At the time of sacrifice, Elijah stepped forward and prayed. It wasn't a long prayer. It wasn't complicated. He simply said, "Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant and have done all these things at your command. Answer me, Lord, answer me, so these people will know that you, Lord, are God, and that you are turning their hearts back again." That was it, a simple, direct prayer. Then the fire of the Lord fell, not just a small flame. This fire consumed the burnt offering, the wood, the stones, the soil, and even licked up the water in the trench. Everything was consumed, the sacrifice, the altar, everything. When all the people saw this, they fell prostrate and cried, "The Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God." The contrast was stunning. The prophets of Baal had shouted, danced, and cut themselves 4 hours with no result. Elijah prayed one prayer, and fire fell from heaven. It was undeniable. It was overwhelming. God had shown up in power. Then Elijah commanded, "Seize the prophets of Baal. Don't let anyone get away." The people seized them, and Elijah had them brought down to the Kishon Valley and put to death there. This sounds harsh to our modern ears, but these prophets had led Israel into idolatry and spiritual destruction. They had killed God's prophets. This was judgment. After this, Elijah told Ahab, "Go, eat and drink, for there is the sound of a heavy rain." But there was no rain yet. The sky was still clear, but Elijah could hear it coming in the spirit. While Ahab went to eat, Elijah climbed to the top of Mount Carmel. He bent down to the ground and put his face between his knees in prayer. He told his servant, "Go and look toward the sea." The servant went and looked but saw nothing. 7 times Elijah sent him back to look. On the 7th time, the servant said, "A cloud as small as a man's hand is rising from the sea." That was enough for Elijah. He sent word to Ahab, "Hitch up your chariot and go down before the rain stops you." Meanwhile, the sky grew black with clouds. The wind rose, and a heavy rain began to fall. The 3.5-year drought was over. God had sent fire, and now He sent rain. So what do we learn from this incredible story? First, God doesn't share His glory. The test on Mount Carmel proved that Baal was powerless and the Lord alone is God. Second, there comes a time to stop wavering and choose. We face the same choice today. Third, one person fully committed to God is more powerful than 1,000 committed to falsehood. Elijah stood alone, but he had God. That was enough. Fourth, prayer doesn't have to be long or complicated to be powerful. Elijah's prayer was short and to the point. God honors sincere, faith-filled prayer. Fifth, God can handle any challenge. Elijah made the test as hard as possible by soaking everything with water. God answered anyway. There's no situation too difficult for God. Sixth, sometimes God asks us to take bold public stands for Him. If God hadn't shown up, Elijah would have looked foolish, but Elijah trusted God to come through. Finally, spiritual victory doesn't mean all your problems are over. Right after this amazing victory, Jezebel threatened Elijah's life, and he ran away in fear. Even after seeing God's power, Elijah still struggled. Victory and struggle can coexist. The story of Mount Carmel reminds us that our God is real, powerful, and worthy of our complete devotion. He doesn't need our help to prove himself. He just needs our obedience and faith. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel reach more people with these powerful biblical accounts. Drop a comment below and let me know what part of Elijah's story impacted you most. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.